Hello everyone, this is Jana Gajjar, Assistant Professor at ITICT Department of LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Welcome to the video lecture series of subject Software Project Management. Here we are discussing about Unit 2, that is Project Planning. Till today's lecture, we have discussed about a various cost estimation technique in which we have discussed about a COCOMO model. Okay, so in detail we have discussed about what are the categories of COCOMO model, that is organic, semi-detached and embedded categories of project. Then we have discussed about how many stages of COCOMO model, that are basic COCOMO model, intermediate COCOMO model and a detailed COCOMO model. Now in today's lecture we are going to discuss about what do you mean by budgeting. Okay, so let's start with the today's topic, that is budgeting. Now the question arises like, what do you mean by budgeting? Okay, so if you are going to plan a construction of any house, okay, so whatever the amount you are able to spend for development of any house, that will be your budget. Okay, so basically the process of creating a plan to spend and use of money in an organization makes up budgeting. Okay, so whatever amount you have, whatever amount you are going to spend and use for any organization, okay, in terms of software project management. Okay, so that is known as a budgeting. So budgeting helps you to determine the spread of money available for project consumption. Okay, so for any software project development you require a money. Okay, so how there all the monies are spreading, like there for an example, if any company is organizing any software, so there is a development team, there is a designing team and there is a testing team. So for all the team you require a sum of amount. Okay, so from the budget, so that is known as a budget. So budgeting will help you to determine the spread of money, where you are going to spread your money in your project. Okay, so the project manager will responsible, that will hold all the responsibility for streamlined working of the project. Okay, so as we have already discussed in our earlier lectures, like if any project is going in development, so there is a person who is known as a project manager who have all the responsibility of a project development. Okay, so he or she will identify all the activities that is going to be occur during the project, and he or she is only the responsible person for developing a budget. Okay, so how many amount you require to complete the project, that will define by a project manager. Okay, so by identifying each and every activity, by discussing with each and every team leader, like if there is a designing team, so design team leader is there. If development team, so one of the person is a team leader from the development team, and same as the testing team. Okay, so project manager will communicate with the all three leaders and then identify what amount of budget required for project development. Okay, so the project manager hold responsibility for the streamlined working of project, and this will ensure that project efficiency, some standards, time and quality are not overlooked. Okay, so here you need to maintain quality. Okay, so there are three factors that we have already discussed in our earlier lectures, like triangle of time, cost and quality. Okay, so any of the two factors directly affect the third one. Okay, so if you require a good quality software, so obviously you need a more time and a high budget. Okay, so that are all the effect for the quality. If you have a good quality of product and you have enough time, so costing will be automatically increased. Similarly, if you have enough costing and you require a good quality product, so you require a larger amount of time to develop that particular product, right? So here this particular budget will ensure that whatever the project efficiency is, whatever the standard is, how much amount of time you require and quality are not overlooked. Okay, so under project management, three important factors play a vital role in success of any project. Okay, so the three main important factors are, as we have already discussed, budget, time and quality. Okay, so how many budget you have with you for any software development, how many time you have for development of any software, and how you will identify the quality. if you require a high quality software project, then obviously your budget will be increased. It needs, it's required high amount of time. Okay, so that is all a impact factor for budget. Okay, so this is all about a budget. Now let's discuss more about a project budget. Okay, so basically a good project budget sustains itself as a tool to estimate project cost. Okay, so if we have a good project budget with us, so that budget particularly plays a role like it is a tool. Okay, so it will act like a tool to estimate the project cost. Okay, so all the costs that are likely to incur in a project can highlight in a planning stage. Okay, so in project management life cycle we have already discussed about the various phases. Okay, so first of all, if you have a requirements with you, so project manager is responsible for a planning of the all the activities. Okay, so at the same time, at the planning phase, the budget will be identified. Okay, so all costs that are likely to be incurred, that means happens during the project development, that can be highlighted in the planning stage of your project. Okay, so in planning, what you are doing in planning, you are planning for your software, like whatever the activities, you are dividing all the activities into the number of employees, you are scheduling all the activities, you are monitoring all the activities, you are tracking for all the activities. So with all this activity, you are parallelly doing a budget of the project. Okay, so you are estimating what amount of budget you require for completion of the project. Okay, so this particular budget, project budget activity is highlighted during the planning stage or planning phase, right? So a good project budget would include the following cost planning. Okay, so if you have a good project budget, so how can you manage it? So there are three important factors that are included during the project budget. Okay, so first of all, there will be a labor cost. So for an example, if you are going to construct any building, right, so you require a labor to construct that particular building, then you require a material like bricks, cement, water, and all the machineries, right? And operating costs. So for operating all this, like electricity and all these things we require, okay, or any transportation we require. Okay, so that will be a operating cost. Okay, so there are three type of costing that makes a good budget or calculate the good budget for your project. Okay, so same thing happens with the software development. Okay, so if any software project is under development, so labor cost, that means the number of team members you have, so you have to pay the developers, you have to pay to the designing team, you have to pay to the testing team. Okay, so that is known as a labor cost. So here in terms of software development, the person who is directly involved with the system, like a team, the project team, that is our labor cost. So you are calculating the development team cost, that will be your labor cost. Second is a material cost. So for any software development, if you require any devices like mobile phone for testing purpose, tablet, then laptop, then systems, okay, or you require any licensed version of software, okay, so that all include in a material cost. Even for documentation you require a paper, okay, so all these things are included in a material cost. And the last cost is about operating cost. So for operating all this, like for delivery of all the requirements of devices, so you need a transportation charges, then all the devices are run on electricity, so there will be electricity charge. Okay, so these all things are included in a operating cost. So for operating, labor as well as material, whatever the cost will be there, that extra cost of the software is included in a operating cost. Okay, so this is all about the three type of cost, that is labor cost, material cost, and a operating cost. Okay, so for a good project budget, it would include these three types of costing. Okay, so basically a project budget can be two main kinds. Okay, so first is resource budget, so in which you are calculating for all the resources you require for development of any software. That means it matters concerning cost allocation for internal resources, like whatever the human resources is there, whatever the external or internal resources, like we require a system, so that will be one of the resources. So it will consider a resource budget. And the second thing is financial budget. Okay, so the main impact factor is financial budget. So it matter concerning cash flow. Okay, so how this particular cash flow payment and external resources going to be happen. Like if you require any license version of software, so you need to pay to buy that particular software. Similarly, if you are going to work with any mobile phone or tablet or anything, so you require that particular device, so you need to pay for that particular device, right? So that will be included in a financial budget. Okay, so as we have already discussed, three main things for good budget, that is labor cost, material cost, and operating cost. Okay, but this overall project budget can be two kinds of things. First is a resource budget, where we are including all the human resources, hardware and software resources, or any environmental resource. Okay, and the second one is a financial budget, where you are calculating for a financial thing like costing and all of these resources. Okay, so these are the two things about the project budget. Okay, now let's discuss about what are the steps to generate a good project budget. Okay, so we have already discussed about what is project budget. Okay, so whatever the amount we have, we are discussing with, we are identify whatever the costing for the particular software, so that will be a budgeting. Okay, but what is the step, what are few steps to create some project budget? So it is the utmost necessity to know how to plan, how to devise, how to create, and then finally manage a project budget. Okay, so in our SDLC, that is software development life cycle, we have discussed about various phases, right? So various phases are like starting from requirement gathering, then you are doing a planning, then deployment, that is design modeling, then coding, then testing and deployment. So you are delivering the final product to the customer, right? So for project budget, you need to go through all the phases. Like for designing, how much amount you require, for coding, how much amount you require, for testing, how much amount you require. Okay, so overall cost of human as well as all the resources are included in the project budget. Okay, so it is utmost necessary to know how to plan, devise, create, and then finally manage a project budget. Okay, so there are few steps. So step one is you need to create a task list. Okay, so as we have already discussed, a task of project manager, what are the activities that is covered by project manager? Okay, so project manager will do a divide of activities, number of activities. So based on the requirement of customer, project manager will divide what amount of activities will be going to occur for this particular project. Okay, so based on this activity, you are able to calculate what amount of costing will be required. Okay, so it creates, so first step is you have to create a task list so that you can focus on requisites cost element for the project. Okay, so as you are dividing all the tasks, so you are able to recognize which amount of resources you require. So for designing team, there will be a 5%, so you need to pay to them. Okay, for testing team, you required team like 5 to 6 people team, as well as you require devices like any mobile device or tablet or any system or laptop. Also you require some of the applications or any operating system or any kind of tools, automated tools for testing the software. Okay, so first of all you need to create a task list. Okay, so based on the task, you can able to recognize what amount of cost we require. Then the second step is you can use a historical data to research similar project and the costing involved. Okay, so let's take an example of when Swiggy was developed. The Zomato will identify what actually Swiggy is doing, and then after they have developed the software. Okay, so based on that Swiggy application, they are creating a Zomato app, so they can easily recognize how much costing will be required for Swiggy, that the same costing will be required for Zomato, because both the things are giving a same features and functionality. Okay, so whatever the restaurant include in a Swiggy, that also in a Zomato application. Okay, so the difference between both the application is they are just giving some of the discount, and also they are providing some free deliveries and also some of the coupons and all these things. Okay, so basic difference between them is that only. Okay, so you can use some historical data, okay, to research similar project and the cost involved. For an example, if you are going for a trip, so how can you identify what amount of budget you require? So you will identify how much kilometer will be there. So based on the kilometer per rate, you will calculate this amount of this amount for actual traveling. Okay, so like for an example, 900 kilometer is there. Okay, and rate will be of 15 rupees per kilometer. Okay, so as per the 15 kilometer rate, you will calculate how many amount we require for 900 kilometer. Then after, if you are going to visit any places, they have some tickets. So for that also you need to pay a ticket. So based on some historical data, like if any friend of you have visited that location, so they will inform you like this amount of budget you required for visiting this place. Okay, so that will be your historical data. So based you can use some historical data to research similar project, okay, and the costing involved. Then you can estimate component based on project requirement. So whatever the component you have in your requirements, based on that you can also calculate the budget. So market research you can do and find out some cost effective and efficient alternatives. Okay, for an example, there are two products, that is a Balaji product and a real product, okay, and also a Gopal product is there. But we know that one of the product like wafers are also coming in a Balaji category as well as in a real category. Okay, Balaji will cost you a 10 rupees wafer. Okay, and if real are in market, so what real product will do? So their marketing team will analyze all the market research, like what amount of quality they require by the customer, okay, and what amount of budget they have. Okay, so if real product will be same as the Balaji product, so they will be cost at like a 10 rupees wafer or in Balaji, so similar product will be sold by a real product. Okay, but the question is, if real will cost you high like 20 rupees, so obviously we know that like people always go with a Balaji product. Okay, so if you are going to build a similar kind of project in software terms, okay, so you need to go through a market research. Okay, so the third step is you can estimate component based on the project requirement, market research, and you need to find out cost effective and efficient alternatives. Okay, and then a fourth step, you can use a market reference to understand how competitors and seasons companies manage budgetary control of their project. Okay, so the same example, Balaji and real, they will analyze all these things and then after they will finalize the budget. Okay, then fifth step, either you can take a advice from the expert. Okay, so if you don't aware about what will be the budget and how to calculate this, so you can seek a help of any person who will be expert in calculating the budget. Okay, so take a advice of expert to curb down doubts and obtain some opinion to improve your decision making. Okay, and the sixth step will be you can confirm accuracy of report whatever you will generate with the internal research team and discussion with the respective departmental heads. Okay, so for an example, project manager will identify all the things and make some report. So he or she will communicate with the all other team members. Okay, so for an example, there is a development team, designing team, and a testing team. So all the three teams have a team leader. Okay, so person who is a project manager will communicate with or discuss with the respective departmental heads, like what amount of budget you require to complete the designing, what amount of budget you require to complete the development like implementation and actual coding, and how much amount of budget you require to complete the testing, right? So all the three departmental heads will communicate with the project manager for better budget control. Okay, so here confirm some accuracy of report with internal research as well as discuss with the respective departmental heads. And the very seventh step is you can streamline the budget based on research and planning done in the above step. Okay, so now project manager will analyze all these things, like if development team will give you budget like 10,000, okay, and designing team will give you budget like 5,000. Okay, so as a project manager, it is your responsibility to identify whether the budget identified by the team leader is correct or not, because if it is costing only in a 5,000 and you are calculating for the 10,000, okay, so that will be a conflict between the budget. Okay, so here project manager will identify and research all these things, so streamline the budget based on the research, and you need to plan done in the above steps. So whatever the steps we have discussed from 1 to 6, you have to plan accordingly. Okay, like in a eighth step, testing the budget is also done. Okay, so testing the budget on pilot projects for sample usage to understand efficiency and practicality. Okay, so here once project manager will identify all the budget, then the higher authority will also test for that budget whether that particular software is under that particular budget or not. Okay, so if operating system is your new project, so create a new operating system. So we know that like it always cost in a lakhs. Okay, but instead of lakhs, project manager will identify a 1 crore budget. Okay, so that will not a feasible thing. Okay, so 8th step is after all the budgeting done by the project manager, testing will be done on that project whether the actual amount defined by the project manager is correct or not. Okay, so the 8th step will be that. And the last step for creating a project budget is you can get a approval from the higher authority. Okay, so for an example, in organization there are fundraiser. Okay, so if you have anything in your mind, like project manager will identify all the budget, so you need to take a approval from the higher authority for this particular budget. Okay, so these are the all steps for creating a budget. Okay, and let's take an example for creating this. So if you are going to construct any house, so first step, how many rooms you require, so that will you are creating a task list, how much of internal design and all this required. Okay, so based on this you can calculate the task. Then you are using some historical data, like if your neighbor is already done this project before 2 months, so you will calculate what amount of budget they required for constructing that particular house. So based on that you will identify some tentative budget. Then you are estimating component. So if there are instead of 3 rooms you are going to create a 4 rooms. Okay, so based on that again your budget will be increased. Then you are going for a market references. Okay, so in market what prices are going. Okay, so that will be a thing in a 4th step. Then if you don't aware about all these things, you can take a advice from your elder person, or you can advice from any person who have already done this kind of project. Okay, and then you are identify some confirm accuracy for this report. Okay, so you are discussing with internal members of your house, and then you will finalize all these things. Okay, and the last step, that from this thing you are going for a higher authority for approval. Okay, so your father will approve all the budget and he will notify you like this is the final budget and we are going to construct this house in this budget only. Okay, so these are all the steps for creating a project budget. So I hope you will understand about the concept, what is budgeting and how you can create a particular project budget. Okay, so that's all for the today's lecture. Here we have completed unit 2 of our syllabus, that is based on project planning. Now from next lecture we are going to start our next unit, that is unit 3. Okay, so that's all for the today's lecture, and this is all about our unit 2. Thank you.